my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. I have some books that I have a lot of thoughts on, so I'm really excited to talk about those today. As you can see, I am in a new location. I'm trying the front entryway for today, mostly because I put up this wallpaper recently and I'm kind of loving it. So I am excited to talk about these books. Let's just jump into that. So the first book that I want to talk about was a recommendation from Melinda at A Web of Stories. So I will make sure to link her channel down below. And this is just the follow-up to An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good. And this is An Elderly Lady Must Not Be Crossed by Helen Trunston. And this was also rather delightful. We follow an old lady committing murder and some flashbacks to her younger self committing murder, and it was told in, grouping of various stories, and they all kind of come together. Now, was this quite as strong as the first one? No. Did I have a great time? Yes. I think where it kind of tripped me up is I feel like by the end they were trying to kind of give her some redeeming qualities, and I just didn't know if it was super necessary. But overall, really delightful. Yeah, if you want lighthearted murder, I think both of these books were pretty good. Now, my sister is a registered dietitian, and she recommended the book More Than a Body, Your Body is an Instrument, Not an Ornament by Lexi and Lindsay Kite. Now, this book I feel like is necessary reading for most people. I think so many people would benefit from reading this book. Now, especially I feel like if you have children, because it delves into how to talk to your kids about body image and body weight and what those things mean and how to give them a strong sense of self. So this book is talking specifically about how, as women and female presenting people, we are often judged on our looks and objectified. There has been a lot of pushback for these toxic beauty standards, and there's been all these hashtag body positivity and showing that people of any size can be sexy and wonderful. But you know what? This book is talking about how those beauty standards, they're gonna change. They're always going to be different, but what seems to be staying constant is the objectification of women's bodies. And what we need to do, instead of celebrating all sizes, which can be nice for some people, it can be really freeing to finally say, hey, that person looks like me and they can be sexy as well. But you know what? They're still being viewed as an object. And instead we need to be able to reach past that and view people and view ourselves as people. And they talk about this thing where women often have this dual view of themselves. They see themselves as what they're doing, but they also see how they're being perceived and how draining that is and how it's taking away from the amazing things that we could be doing. So I think that there are a lot of really important things in this book. I really appreciated some of the concrete things on how to separate yourself from some of those views, taking breaks so you can break away a little bit from that objectification. And I think that it had some good advice on that. I really appreciated some of the ways to be more conscious about how you are using social media, how you are showing yourself, and how you make comments on other people. I think all of this is really important stuff for people to learn. And I think that even if you feel like you have a pretty good concept of yourself and you feel good about yourself, there are still things that are going to slip through the cracks. I mean, you may feel like, oh yeah, I feel really good about my body. I don't think about it that much. I'm fine. And then something happens. You have a baby, you get older, things change, and it's hard to struggle with that change of how you view yourself. And I think that this book had a lot of really good things for it. That being said, I am also kind of annoyed by self-help books in general, and so some of it kind of came across to me as a little bit girl bossy, you're a boss babe, you can do this, and I think that's just the nature of self-help books that kind of make me roll my eyes. So as a self-help book goes, It was good, but it's not my favorite genre. I still think it's very important and useful for people to read this book, so don't let that deter you, but I think that in general there was a little bit of that going through it, as well as a little bit of repetitiveness. I think it could have been a little shorter. I think that some of the stuff was not super concise. And I also think that some of the people that they used as quotes and examples in the books, I had to roll my eyes at, and I just don't feel like it really helped in getting their point across. While I thought all the information was really good, having Lizzo tell me about loving your body is just, especially in, current climate, makes me kind of roll my eyes a little. And so there were a few times that I feel like that kind of took me out of the book. But overall, since the message is so good, I really do think that everyone should give this a read. I think it has so many important topics, and I think it's just something that people need to be aware of. Sure, you may feel like, oh, I just want to look good and I want to be sexy and I want to be amazing, and those things aren't necessarily bad. It's just this constant feeling that you have to be something to be viewed instead of a person who has a life. I think that it's an important topic. If you have thoughts on this, how do you feel about the body positivity movement? How do you accept body neutrality in your life? What have you learned in your journey about this subject? Let me know in the comments. This next book I added to my list because of Scott at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, and he's great. And this book was by the same author as Convenience Store Woman, and it's by Sayaka Murata. And I didn't love Convenience Store Woman, but it was so different that it really, I was so glad I picked it up. It was short and it was different, and it really dealt with these societal expectations, and especially in Japan. So Convenience Store Woman really dealt with some of those issues, and it was kind of delightful and weird and quirky, and it was just so different. It was a voice that I don't hear often. So I picked up Earthlings by the same author. Now, I knew that this was going to deal with some of the same themes, and it was a horror book, but I wasn't prepared, and this could be me being squeamish or something, but I wish that I could unread this book. I wish I could scrub it out of my brain and go back to before I picked this one up. This has a lot of the same things. It's a young girl who her family is horrible to her. She is being abused. She and her cousin decide that they're not from this planet and that they are aliens and that they just want to get back to their home planet. And in theory, I'm like, this is kind of sweet, and I kind of felt like some sort of connection with the character. And then by the end, I was like, nope. I feel like the author in Convenience Store Woman really kind of gave me that moral at the end of the story that people can be different and people don't have to want the same things out of life to be valid. In this book, it was the same message, but by the end I was like, if this is what not fitting into society leads to, no, everyone conform. I hate this so much. So did not really love this book. It was just, I enjoy a horror, whatever, and this just was kind of gross. It was just disturbing, and I feel like it almost undermined the point that the author had made in her previous work and was maybe trying to make in this work, and so did not love this one. Really wish that I could unread it. Now, I've had this book on hold at the library for ages, and I finally was able to read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. And this is following two best friends who drift apart during childhood, come back together to make a video game and start a company making video games. I really enjoyed the story. I thought that the characters were interesting. I found that the main guy, Sam, I wanted to punch him in the face the majority of the book. He really got on my nerves, and I don't know if that really worked great for me. I liked the book for talking about kind of the joy of creativity and the intensity of like a creative partnership and how important that can be. And I thought that it had some really interesting things on this. And do you know what this book reminded me of the whole time? I kept thinking of this book that I had read, I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 years ago. I don't know. It's been ages, but I read this book called The Animators. And if any of you have read that, let me know, because that one was about, from what I remember, it was about 2 women who worked together on like a comic. And this book gave me a lot of similar kind of vibes. This like partnership that maybe is romantic, maybe isn't, that they have this like creative drive together. Like, I really thought that that was pretty good. So overall, this was a love story, but not super straightforward and traditional, and I thought that it was pretty good. I'm glad that I read it. I don't know if it's is one of those like, wow, it moved me and changed my life forever, but if it's like the book The Animators, that one I didn't think was going to stick with me, and it's just kind of stuck in the back of my head for years now. So maybe this one will have something similar, because I did find a lot of similarities in kind of the tone, at least from what I remember, because it has been quite a few years. So overall, I enjoyed this one. I'm glad I picked it up. If you've read it, which I know a lot of you have, let me know. What did you think of this? What did you get out of it? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And that is what I have read in the past little bit. So if you have thoughts on these books, let me know, and I will see you soon with another book wrap up.